All right, guys, we are on the last day, chapter 6-7. You guys will have a test tomorrow, and we're back into operating systems. So let's go ahead and get rolling here. All right, so first of all, we're going to start up with a few warm-up and review questions. What is another term for a cold boot of a computer? Remember, a cold boot is starting it up from completely nothing, right? Completely powered off. So cold boot is another term for starting up or powering on a computer. What is another name for a warm boot of a computer? That's simply restarting your computer, right? It's already on. You're just kind of restarting it. It never completely powers off. Therefore, it is a warm boot. What is known as the main bridge between the hardware and the software? That would be the kernel, spelled Kernel, right? The kernel. All right, now what you guys are going to do, play this video, leave mine, pause it, whatever. Play this video and watch from 1 minute and 30 seconds in to about 5 minutes and answer the questions on the worksheet, okay? I'll make sure I've added that in the website. All right, now that you have done that, you guys can answer those video questions and move on. So the boot drive is the drive from which a personal computer, a PC, starts from, okay? Generally, a boot drive is found inside or on the internal hard drive. But what happens if that gets damaged, right? So the boot drive is the drive from which a PC starts. Make sure you have that definition. Well, if that starts, you can use a boot disk. All right, a boot disk is a disk or a drive that contains an operating system that is used. But generally, you also, if that is messed up, you generally will also have access to a live USB or CD. This generally comes when you buy a computer, and it is allowed to start up. Right, it contains the operating system right there and allows you to kind of start there. So, what is the difference there? A boot disk just contains the small section that allows a computer to start up, while a live USB contains the entire operating system. So make sure you know the difference there. All right. Sleep versus hibernation. Okay, so your computer does generally have two modes, right? Generally, it will either have a sleep mode or a hibernation mode. Now, what's the difference? If a computer goes to sleep, before it shuts down or doesn't shut down, before it goes to sleep, goes into that mode, it generally will save the documents, the apps, everything running, and it saves it to RAM and then turns off everything that's not needed. However, hibernation mode before is essentially powering off the device. When it powers itself off, when it goes into hibernation mode, it saves all of those open programs, documents to the hard drive before power is removed. So sleep goes to RAM short term. If it loses power, it goes into a low power state, but before it loses that power, right? If you do not plug in your laptop or whatever, and it's in a sleep mode, you're going to lose all of that if it's not been saved, whereas hibernation will save it to the internal hard drive. All right, so the big difference there you need to know is that saving to RAM, remember, RAM is cleaned every time the computer loses power. Anything saved to RAM is gone if it's not saved. Where if it's saved to the internal hard drive, it's going to be accessible at any time in the future. All right, now I want you guys to take a second and describe what RAM looks like. I've heard a couple people say it looks like railroad tracks. It looks like a green harmonica, or maybe like a train car. Also describe what the internal hard drive, or the hard drive in this case, this is a SSD, right? A solid state, not a SSD. This is a HDD, hard disk drive. I'm sorry. Some people say it looks like a record player, a CD player. I've heard a couple different things. So kind of describe what the ones here remind you of. All right, do all operating systems offer a hibernation or sleep mode? The answer to that, though they do generally come with one, no, you do not always have those. All right, what is the purpose of memory management? This used to be a big thing on like iPods and iPhones, but memory management allows you to visually see how your memory is being used, but the main purpose of it is to optimize the internal memory of your computer, okay? All right. Virtual memory is using a hard drive of another device as additional memory. Could be like virtual memory would be like if you use an external hard drive to plug into your Xbox or your PlayStation to have extra memory, right? It is generally slower than RAM because it's having to go through extra steps there. User interfaces. We're going to talk about 4 different types of user interfaces, and this is how we interact with a computing device. All right, the first one, GUI, graphic user interface. Okay, that is how you're visually seeing and interacting with a computer. Graphic user interface, or GUI. The next one we have is TUI, touch user interface. All right, so if it's touchscreen, you can interact by by touching the screen, stuff like that. The next one is NUI, or natural user interface, which is like using, for example, the camera to catch you, and if you could interact with your computer, such as that, or if I were to say, "Hey Siri, what is?" By naturally speaking out, or something like that, or even if you think about VR, right? Natural user interface there. And then the last one is CLI, or command line interface. This is by typing in the commands and using code. So your 4 different types are GUI, graphic user interface; TUI, touch user interface; NUI, natural user interface; and CLI, command line interface. All right. Multitasking operating system is an operating system that has the ability to run 2 or more applications at a time. So a lot of the things we have, so right now I, for example, have Chrome open running Google Slides while also using Screencastify, so you guys can get this. But the ability to run 2 applications at the same time. So currently my foreground application is Slides, even though I have Screencastify on another tab in the background. This would be the same thing as being able to use Google Chrome or using multiple apps. Like if I'm listening to music and checking out Facebook or something, or Marketplace, or looking through photos, I can have different apps open at the same time. That would be an example of a oh, my bad, I'm sitting here, oh yeah, multitasking operating system. Sorry, I was looked ahead and got confused. Now, what I want you guys to do, take a second, go to the site, and you are going to, everybody's going to have this Sudoku puzzle. Take a second, watch the video if you don't know how to do Sudoku, and try to attempt to complete this puzzle. And then once you're done, you can unpause me and keep going. All right, so if you did the Sudoku puzzle, you probably bounced around, right? You may find out like, okay, in this case, I need to figure out where 1 goes, and then you're like, oh, wait, it might be easier to determine where 9 goes, okay? You may have bounced around from time to time, so like I was talking about that there, and just looking here quickly, I can see, all right, there's a 2 here, a 2 here. This box needs a 2, that can't go there. 2 has to go there. Now I know 3's got to go there. Okay, so different things like that. Sudoku, you may bounce around. That kind of makes me think of a task manager. You have one overall task, but you're constantly bouncing around trying to figure out where all those numbers were supposed to go. Now, a task manager is a program on your computer, well, that allows you to manage what is going on. All right, so your task manager allows you to manage what's going on. Not only does it watch what's going on, but it allows you to like click and say, look, boom, I need to close Microsoft Edge. It's glitching out. You can click on that here because you can see that it is using, in this case, Microsoft Word's using a lot of the memory, and maybe I need to use that. I can click on that in the task after it's saved. Okay. Task Manager is a program that allows you to manage the tasks that are going on and control that. Now, I accidentally skipped a section right here for a multitasking operating system that allows you to run multiple applications. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but your foreground application is the application that is actively being seen and used, while everything else is running in the background, or background application. So the background application is the application that is being ran in the background but not maybe currently being used or focused on. Okay, now sorry about that. Next thing we have is multi-user operating system. And a multi-user operating system is simply an operating system that allows multiple people to sign in. So like these computers allows you to sign multiple, or the ones in this classroom allow you to sign in multiple people on one computer. That's just an example. An operating system that enables 2 or more users. All right, we've done the Sudoku puzzle. I'm making sure we don't skip too much. and we're going to continue. So what does the task manager do? The task manager is what we talked about that. Yeah, already is what is running and controls the task, allows you to end it and go from there. Generally, if you want to access that, you can press Control Alt Delete. So if something's ever glitching out on you and it's not working, go to the task manager and try to end that if it's not going to cause you to lose it. All right. Does the operating system determine the order in which tasks are complete? The answer to that is true, right? Your operating system kind of controls everything, generally coordinates those tasks. The task manager just allows you to see that, okay? So 3 examples of tasks you could see would be, you can talk about receiving data, sending info to output devices. To kind of see what that looks like, that would be like saving something to a hard drive or sending something to the printer, different things like that, saving a document. Okay, all of those things would fall under what are some tasks that a operating system has to coordinate. Now, when we're talking about saving, buffer, okay, the buffer is a segment of memory where items are sent that are being waited. So if you've ever printed a lot of documents at once, it can't do it all instantaneously, right? It doesn't just happen like that. The buffer is where the section of memory where something that is waiting to be processed is sent. The list of those things that are waiting to be processed is called the queue. You probably have seen queue on like your Xbox or your PlayStation if you're wanting to download a couple games or update a couple games, and there's one already being downloaded, right? That section of memory they're sent to is called the buffer, but that list of items is called the queue. Now, spooling. What is spooling? Spooling is simply sending an item to the queue. All right, to the buffer. Okay, spooling is sending items to the buffer. There you go, which create the queue. The performance monitor. So this is very similar in some ways to the task manager, but the performance monitor literally only monitors. It assesses and reports about the device uses and resources. Okay, manages or assesses and reports, does not manage, assesses and reports different resources of the computer and how they're being used, but it does not control anything. All right, we're on the last bit here, device driver. Now this is a program, all right, so all computers come with some types of device drivers. That's how, like, there's a device driver meant for the mouse, sorry, camera's over here, for the camera, for the keyboard. The device driver is what tells the computer how to interact with these devices. So, for example, you get a new printer. Generally, you have to add this device driver to your computer, download it so your computer knows how to interact with that printer correctly so you get the right thing out of it. So what is a device driver? It is a program that tells that OS, operating system, how to communicate with a specific device. Once again, a device driver is a program that tells your operating system how to communicate and work with a specific device. All right, devices that require a driver, a keyboard, a monitor, a mouse, a printer. All right. Now, there are also things called plug-and-play devices. Some devices will come with it where it is set up where it is designed to already function. They know what computers they plan to use it with. It is set up to where you can plug it in and your computer should already know how to interact with it. There is no need for downloading any driver. Some devices I've also seen where you plug it in and it's already kind of like pre-installed on the device where it adds the driver in there, so it's just like that. So it talks with the operating system and said, this is how you interact with me, and adds that piece of information there. All right, so that should work to finish that worksheet. You guys, from here, make sure you have completed the Sudoku puzzle, put your name on it, and turn it into the teacher or the sub. So that I can have that and grade that as well. Aside from that, do not forget your test is tomorrow. Make sure you look over your sheets, your worksheets that we've done throughout this chapter so you can have that and be ready for that test tomorrow.